There was a flare-up in Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip on Saturday. The attacks have been described as the most intensive instance of violence around the Palestinian enclave since the Israeli war in 2014. Dozens of airstrikes left at least 2 Palestinians killed and several others wounded. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu later warned that Israel would not accept any attacks from the Gaza Strip. He said the Israeli military would respond appropriately to any act of aggression on the part of the Palestinians. But many have for long disputed Israel's claim that it is responding proportionately to attacks by the Palestinians.
Well, in every instance, it is using a disproportionate response. It cannot hit Hamas targets because Hamas works in a sophisticated underground tunnel system, so every single time it is simply testing its weapons on civilian infrastructure.
Many believe that Saturday's violence has once again created doubts over the prospects of a lasting peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. That specifically as the U.S. is preparing to unveil a so-called deal of the century that U.S. President Donald Trump has claimed would end decades of hostility between the two sides. But it appears that President Trump and his team have closed their eyes to the current sentiments of Arabs in general and Palestinians in particular against Israel. A recent opinion poll showed that a majority of Arabs consider Israel, together with the U.S., as the top 2 biggest threats to their national security.
I think it shows that from the very beginning they were bought and paid for, as they were. Most of these Arab leaders have never really stood by the Palestinian people. They've always been about money. And of course, they've never took in any sort of real stand against the Israeli entity since its inception. They want to blame everyone and everything for their inaction on the Palestinian issue.
There have been other indications that the unpopularity of Israel is gradually spreading at the international level. The latest instance of this was a recent approval by the Irish Parliament to ban trade with businesses based in Israeli settlements in the West Bank. Observers say this shows that the world is increasingly becoming aware about the atrocities of the Israelis against the Palestinians.
People cannot watch video after video emerge of children being shot, hospitals, schools, mosques, and other civilian sites being bombarded for absolutely no reason with zero justification. The more people know about Israel, the more they dislike Israel. So the more information that is fed, the more truth that people are getting about what Israel is, the less they like it. Because of course, nobody who is a human being could back the state policies of the Israeli entity.
By all signs, the plight of the Palestinians is there to stay. Even a much-debated deal of the century, which U.S. President Donald Trump thinks would solve the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians, is not expected to help too much. But how will Arab leaders help the Palestinians? None, as long as they prefer to bury their heads in the sand and refuse to acknowledge that Israel is a real threat to Arab nations.